Wow, good evening. Welcome back to Matchday Live, half-time at the Etihad Stadium in our Champions League game against RB Leipzig. I don't think any of us could have predicted that, though. That was 3-0, 3 goals in the first half. 3 goals for that man, Erling Haaland. That is his first hat-trick for Manchester City in the Champions League. That also takes him to 37 goals in 36 games. And the records keep on tumbling. He is now the youngest player in the history of the competition to score 30 goals in the Champions League. So that's quicker than Mbappe and Messi. Paul, you just said there you don't know if you scored that many.
Over 20 years, never mind half a season.
I mean, it feels a little bit like Groundhog Day, but we were said here in the studio, he was at it today, wasn't he, in that first half?
Yeah, he was, and I think, look, I'd like to say it was never in doubt, but it was all close in our predictions at the start of the game because of how they were in the second half over in Leipzig, but fair play to Man City and the team today. You know, from the first minute, the intensity was there. They were on the front foot, pressing right up on their back line, but, you know, Leipzig caused themselves a lot of their own problems by trying to play out. But Erling Haaland, what can you say? You know, it's just ridiculous. And it's ended up 3-0 at half-time. It could quite easily have been 5 or 6. Yeah, I mean, that will be absolutely be loving that in the Etihad Stadium. I'm sure Pep will as well. Shaun, 1 goal scorer to another. I mean, what else can we say about the big man?
Well, you know, when you score that many goals, you get goals like his third one, you know, where the defender's trying to clear it, and no matter where you are on the field, it still ends up being your goal. He clears it, it hits him, it goes in, but as being in the right place to sort of go in and try to assure that it goes in, it's just in this great form, and long may it continue. I think, like Paul has said, you know, they've contributed to some of their own problems and trying to play out, and Andy's alluded to it in saying that every manager thinks they could play a bit like how City do because of what Pep has brought to the game, and they haven't realised that. You know, we were told sometimes, listen, if it's not on or you're not comfortable with it, then you've got to sort of miss lines, and they're trying, and City are pressing, and part of it almost feels like. I'm not sort of giving City credit, but City actually deserves the credit because City's actually forcing those mistakes as well. They think they got the ability to play out, but City's also saying, well, go on, entice them, go on, pass it there, and then pouncing and then, winning the ball. So out of possession, brilliant. In possession, also brilliant. But they played a part in allowing City to sort of press as well.
They definitely played a part, but as you both said, taking nothing away from City, we were looking for a big performance in the Champions League. We know how the quality of opposition. As an overall team performance, what has your been assessment of those 45 minutes?
I think really positive. I think all 3 of us are probably wanting that scoreline and that start, and I think the intensity, Leipzig can't cope with it when they have the ball and when they don't have the ball. I think the movement and the overload areas from City has been unbelievable, and that's not just central, it's in the wide areas with De Bruyne and Gundogan helping Grealish and Bernardo, and it's so positive. And when you've got a player like Erling Haaland who's so clinical in them instances, and obviously the penalty was probably maybe a bit dubious, but I think to step up and take another pen after taking one against Palace and dispatch it that way is a great start.
Yeah, it really was. Keeper went the right way as well for that. I mean, let's just talk about the penalty decision. Paul, it was a ball in, and we think it's a little bit soft here in the studio.
It is. You know, I'm as biased as they come, but I think Henriks is really, really unlucky. You know, I tell players claim for everything anyway, but not one player on the pitch, I don't think, even seen it.
No.
Coming, the benches, the fans didn't even go for it, and we were all a little bit when they said it was going to VAR. I think everybody was a bit surprised and asking what it was for. You know, but we've not had a lot of luck in the Champions League over the last couple of years, so we'll take any little bit of luck we can get. But going back to Erling Haaland, you know, Steph's absolutely bang on. You know, after taking the penalty on Saturday, getting another penalty tonight, and it was right in the corner, great penalty. And I think Haaland tonight, from the very, very first minute, there was a lot of noise around Guardiola about him being probably the best young defender in the world, and I think Erling's looked at that and thought, you know what, I'm the best young striker in the world, so let's go toe-to-toe. And he looks as if he's got the bit between his teeth with it, and they can't handle him.
No one seems to be able to handle him, and they've just been told in my ear there it's his 5th hat-trick for Manchester City already, 17th career hat-trick. I mean, that's
scary. It's scary. I mean, you always see him now in games going like, that's his goal. because I'm going to get some more. You know, I'm going to get some more. You can have that one.
Give one a centre-half.
It's phenomenal. You know, 5 hat-tricks already. The guy is an absolute finisher. And what I'm seeing today as well is I like the fact he's actually come deep. Some people can, or some players can come deep, but still not find themselves at the right time in the box. But he finds himself because he knows that's his area. That's where he knows he gets those finishes. So he arrives in the box at the right time to get those finishes.
So they moved to the second goal. It was really well worked, Steph. But I mean, it was Haaland that got it. But it's kind of all about Kevin De Bruyne. The fans were chanting his name in the stadium. That effort from him.
Yeah, I think De Bruyne is probably one of the only players in the world that can take a shot like that when you probably don't expect it and hit it with so much power on his weaker foot is just, yeah, I mean, that speaks volumes for him as a player. And I think to have it off the bar, but then Haaland to be so alert and to get the seconds and to finish it. I think he was the one that was pressurising the goalkeeper, so kind of they worked together on that, but that De Bruyne strike was unbelievable. So he should get a lot of credit for that goal, but I think with Haaland and the way that he is at the minute, everything that he's touching seems to be going in the back of the net.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we get the third goal. It was, Shaun, you'd mentioned in our pre-show that set pieces are going to be keen. It was a set piece there that brought the third goal.
Yeah, I just seen a couple of lewd highlights and I thought they were fortunate to get away. And I saw that Rodri on a few occasions was able to dominate. This, you know, I think it was on the actual goal. I think it was Rodri or Diaz who sort of heads it back, and it's a little bit of a scramble. But in the end, it's Diaz that has the post, goes across the goal line, and then Haaland's there to make sure it goes in. But they struggled on set pieces, and I didn't think they'll struggle as bad as they did. Mm-hmm. But I did think that we could have some joy. But everything that's come in the box. You know, we seem to be added and causing danger.
There was a moment as well. I think it was 2-0, and you know, I think as we said, there seemed to be 5 minutes. You know, 10 that RB Leipzig, Paul. Well, we kind of felt like they were finding a bit of rhythm. I think we were helping them a little bit, necessarily not keeping the ball, and then an Ederson moment. Now, do we think he is? Could you talk us through it? And do we think he's a little bit lucky from the replays? We know it's hard to tell.
I think a little bit lucky in the way that I think John Stones and Ruben Diaz have sprinted back to cover for him. So I think even if the referee gives the foul, I think there's plenty of players in and around it to stop it from being an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. Mm-hmm. But just I think it's just Steph will tell you about it. I mean, a little bit of communication between the goalkeeper and the centre-half, isn't it?
I think you've just got to let defenders defend. I think even though it was Grealish, I think that's maybe why it's probably made his decision. Not in a bad way, but yeah. I think he's obviously in between the player and the ball, so it's like just let him try and he's still 30, 40 yards outside of the goal, so it's like just let defenders defend and get everybody back in. And I think sometimes keepers just want to get involved, and I'm like, just stay in the box and chill.
I would just say it's a tricky for me. I think we got away with one. I think Addison's, you know, he's a bit rash there, but I think keepers has got a real difficult one because again it's a zippy night. They gotta be high enough so anything that comes through, and as fans, you know, watching and as a current player, if it's too deep, the first thing we say is, where's Ederson? Why is he too deep? He should be coming out. So it's a difficult one for them at times to judge when to come and when they go, they got to go. And he's when he's going, he's fully going. But I think he's got away with one there.
Now, I'm going to go for both sides of the dressing rooms. For Leipzig, you know, at 2-0, I guess you're kind of still thinking there's a chance. That third goal's got to be killer for them. What can we expect, or what do you think we might see from them coming out in the second half?
It's a difficult one because normally you're going at half-time 3-0 down against a team that's one of the best in the world. As a manager, you're getting just damage limitation now for the second half, but it's a knockout competition. You know, and they might be saying, look, you go out there, you have nothing to lose now. You've been battered the first half, go out and show the fans that have travelled what he's all about and maybe try and nick a goal and see where it takes us. But if Manchester City play the way they did the first half, I can see another 3 goals coming, you know, and I think Steph was so right earlier on. We all wondered before the game how we were going to set up, and Leipzig can't handle it. You know, John Stones is playing as a centre midfielder, you know, and Steph said about De Bruyne and Gundogan just playing inside of Jack and Bernardo Silva, which means the fullbacks don't know what to do. They don't know whether to come in and pick up and stay wide. When they stay wide, we're getting down through the side of them. When they tuck in, the wide players are getting in the ball, and what it's happening is it's leaving Erling the two centre-halves on Erling Haaland, and Erling's just playing in between the two of them, knowing that the space is down the side for him. It's worked so well.
Guess as well, then that's where you credit the tactical genius of Pep Guardiola, because I remember in his pre-match as well, he said that, you know, they like to play with the full-backs wide or they can all come into the middle, but he seems to have stopped them from doing either.
Yeah, I think obviously I presume that John Stones would go into midfield, but I think Shaun touched on it before, I think City's pressing in this game's been so much better, and they're trying to force Leipzig inside, which obviously we've got numbers there, so it has helped because De Bruyne and Haaland are on their centre-halves and then they chase the goalkeeper down, so it really has worked in that sense in terms of, obviously, if you haven't got the ball, it's like, OK, keep it as far away from our goal as possible, and we've certainly done that and scored some goals from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the goal scorer, I've just been given a few more stats, and it's always nice to enjoy these. But this is a first-half performance. Also, I should say, it was the perfect hat-trick. It's gone down as a right foot, left foot there for the next one, and then the header. There's been a lot of conversation, hasn't there, around whether Haaland touches the ball enough or not. Well, in the first half alone today, he's had 23 touches, 5 shots on target, and he's had 8 passes completed as well, which is not far off 100% completion for him as well. When he's in that form, Shaun and Paul, you said it right at the top, unplayable really, and that's coming up against arguably one of the hottest prospects when it comes to a young centre-half in European football.
Yeah, it is. I think it was pre-game. I'm not sure if it was FG, but just saying that, you know, people thinking has he sort of dipped? Has he dipped in terms of how many goals he's been scoring? And I was thinking coming in, this could be one of those games where he may get 2 goals. I didn't think 3, but he just does this, you know. If he goes 1 or 2 games in terms of not scoring or just scoring 1, somewhere along the line, he then gets himself and score a brace or scores a hat-trick, and perfect hat-trick, as you say. So long may it continue for him.
And finally, into our dressing room, Steph, you know, it's brilliant first 45 minutes. Big game against Burnley as well. Obviously, not getting ahead of ourselves, but, you know, if we keep playing the way we're playing, maybe you'd look to the bench to freshen it up a little bit and keep also, like you say, that press that has been so good as well.
Yeah, I think even though it's 3-0, I think obviously probably take what happened in Leipzig in terms of the second half. We thought probably that City would then go out and win the game, and that definitely changed because Leipzig came out and were a different team. So I think hopefully maybe another goal and then some changes because we've got so much quality on the bench ahead of Saturday's game against Burnley.
Perfect stuff. Well, listen, Steph, Shaun, Paul, thank you very much. Thank you to you for watching. Erling Haaland, thank you to you as well, sir. So it is 3-0 at the Etihad Stadium, 4-1 in aggregate. The boys making their way back out. So get over to the City app where you'll have Andy Morrison and Alistair Mann with commentary, and we'll all be back at full time.
45 Minuten. Es gilt
Welcome back to the Etihad Stadium as City come out for the second half. RB Leipzig have been out there for a little bit longer. Not surprising, really. Probably had a bit of a rocket in their ears when they got back into the dressing room. But let's be honest, they just weren't quite able to cope with City's intensity.